I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Captain America Civil War is still burned in the back of our collective retinas, so we figured it was high time we visited the second installment in Cap's trilogy, 2014's The Winter Soldier, an adaptation of Ed Brubaker's original story arc printed 10 years prior, spanning 13 issues.
Now, of course, screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely could not pin a faithful adaptation on account of the grand story arc in which this film takes place. So, he and the Russo brothers ditched the overtly comic bookish plot surrounding Brubaker's Winter Soldier and replaced it with a more grounded spy thriller that dismantles S.H.I.E.L.D. and helps build the foundation for Civil War.
So what did they alter in order to achieve such a task? Let's suit up and find out, shall we?
So without further ado, and no restraint on spoilers,
what's the difference?
As we mentioned, much of Brubaker's comic book shtick fell by the wayside during the film's pre-production, so we won't be discussing Red Skull inhabiting the body of a Steve Rogers clone, flying cars, or hive-minded super soldiers. In fact, the movie script only holds on to a few key players from the comics, such as Cap, the Winter Soldier, Agent 13, and Nick Fury, who is decidedly paler in the comics. The two most important characters dropped from the film are villains the Red Skull and former KGB general and primary antagonist Alexander Lukin. Are you looking at me? Joke.
Having lost everything during World War II, Lukin aims to build the most powerful corporate conglomerate utilizing the Cosmic Cube, known in the cinematic MCU as the Tesseract. The Tesseract contains the Space Stone, which allows one to zip around dimensional realms in the blink of an eye, but the Cosmic Cube from the comic is a man-made container which houses extra-dimensional energies. These energies allow the user to control matter as a means to obtain their deepest desires.
The movie trades the Russian megalomaniac for a different, more domestically threatening Alexander Pierce, the secretary of the World Security Council who plans to launch state-of-the-art helicarriers in order to carry out massive assassinations on those who would stand in the way of Hydra's total control. The change in antagonist is a sensible one. Obviously, they didn't want to rehash the Red Skull, but wanted to keep Hydra as the dominating threat.
Hail Hydra.
Plus, having the danger come from inside S.H.I.E.L.D. provides yet another example of why Cap believes the power of supers is safest in their own hands.
Those beautiful, patriotic hams.
Good idea. Let's talk about the changes made to Cap.
Okay. Ed Brubaker picked up the Captain America storyline immediately following the Disassembled series, in which Scarlet Witch inadvertently causes the death of the Vision, Ant-Man, and Hawkeye, leaving the Avengers disbanded and Cap under great emotional stress. He blows off steam by going a little too medieval on some baddies' asses. His overall erratic behavior is cause for concern, so Nick Fury assigns Agent 13 to keep an eye on him. This is a little awkward since these two were a romantic item some time ago.
Movie Cap, however, deals with a different internal struggle, one of morality. As a man out of his own time, Steve Rogers is the embodiment of idealistic patriotism. He lives by a moral code that is in conflict with the gray area in which Nick Fury operates. The movie's Nick Fury still assigns Agent 13 to Captain America, but his motivations stem from paranoia and concern for the super soldier's life, not his mental state. Instead of acting as Cap's right hand like in the comic, Agent 13 is downgraded to a more passive role as Black Widow takes her place next to Cap. And while Steve Rogers would agree that Agent 13 is easy on the eyes, he has yet to plant his flag.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Granted, Captain America would probably enjoy these intimate moments more if it weren't for the constant nightmares about the war, which not only features the Howling Commandos, but also supers such as Namor, the Human Torch, and Toro. But seeing how none of these characters appeared in Captain America the First Avenger, let's just stick with Bucky, shall we?
Who the hell is Bucky?
Glad you asked. The First Avenger introduced the character as a lifelong friend of Steve Rogers, who follows Captain America into battle as a Howling Commando. But on one fateful mission, Bucky loses his grip on a moving train and falls to his supposed icy death. But in the comic, Bucky didn't even meet Captain America until he was 16 years old. He was selected to be Cap's sidekick as a way to inspire the youth of the country. He also took care of the dirtier jobs that Captain America wouldn't be comfortable doing himself. You see, comic Bucky is a natural assassin, viciously slitting the throats of Nazi bad guys. Anyway, all that skill does very little for our illustrated sidekick. After escaping the clutches of Zemo, Bucky's sleeve gets caught on a booby-trapped drone plane that explodes in midair. Of course, Captain America assumes he's KIA, until the one inciting incident that pits these once good friends against each other comes in the shape of a bullet. In the comic, this bullet hits Red Skull, killing him instantly. But in the movie, the target is Nick Fury, who seemingly dies as well. It's this assassination that prompts both Caps to get involved and discover the true identity of the Winter Soldier. Heads up, it's Bucky. I know, it's shocking.
The movie reveals that Bucky was picked up by Hydra and turned into their personal lapdog by the previous film's henchman, Dr. Arnim Zola. In the comic, on the other hand, Bucky is salvaged by KGB General Karpov, who sought to give Mother Russia her very own super soldier.
Oh, so that's why he has Red Star painted on metal arm.
Exactly, and because Russia has always considered its harsh winters as a weapon of war, the new super soldier would henceforth be known as the Winter Soldier. In the movie, he's thawed out periodically in order to help shape the world into one of fear and paranoia, so that the public willingly hands their freedom over to Hydra in exchange for safety and order. His current mission is to see that no one stops their diabolical plan from coming to fruition. In the comic, he is used to take the Cosmic Cube from Red Skull and taunt Captain America with death and destruction. He even kills a friend of Cap's named Jack Monroe, who had played the role of Bucky the sidekick during the 50s and 60s, alongside another who took up Cap's mantle during that time.
The movie makes no mention of any second Captain America or Bucky. Why? It rhymes with schmonvoluted.
The film then brings back Fury, who faked his death to ensure his safety. It's in this scene that he hands the reins over to Cap.
Looks like you're giving the orders now, Captain.
In the comic, however, Nick Fury gets caught up in red tape after conducting an unsanctioned operation on sovereign land in an attempt to apprehend Lucan. Fury! His role is then pushed into the background, taking him out of the fight for the rest of the story.
Lucky for Cap, he still has the aid of his good friend Falcon, who has long been established in the comic series but introduced for the first time in the movie. So Captain America and his small band of vigilantes have to track down his best friend, who's been brainwashed into a deadly weapon while the world sits on the brink of assimilation. So what would you do in this scenario?
You hop on the phone, you dial 1-800-IRON MAN.
You're exactly right. Our comic book hero calls in Iron Man to help him and Falcon grab a tracking device from AID, Advanced Ideas in Destruction, which is a rogue faction of the terrorist think tank AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics. After an incredible action sequence that would have been so cool to see on screen, Captain America finally has a means to track down Bucky and the Cube.
However, Rogers never even considers calling him in the movie, probably because he's still recovering from fighting AIM in Iron Man 3. Plus, he totally blew up all of his suits anyway, so he's just a,
genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Right, which is totally useless in this movie.
And that brings us to Final Showdown, yes?
Yes! While the comics set this scene in an underground bunker, the movie takes the final fray to the skies, atop 3 deadly helicarriers. In both mediums, Captain America and the Winter Soldier beat each other down, all while Rogers attempts to jog Bucky's memory. In the end, Cap refuses to fight his friend any longer and asks Bucky to just kill him already. In the movie, our heroes eliminate the hovering threat and gun down Alexander Pierce. Captain America then delivers a line that finally reaches Bucky.
Because I'm with you to the end of the line.
However, old habits die hard and Cap falls hundreds of feet into a body of water. After Bucky saves Steve's life, he disappears and in a post-credit scene starts to track down his past.
In the comic, however, Agent 13 arrives just in the nick of time to cause the Winter Soldier to miss a shot at a defenseless Captain America, who in turn knocks the Cosmic Cube out of Bucky's hands. He then uses the cube's power to instantly return all of Bucky's memories.
Not a pleasant experience.
Racked with guilt, Bucky crushes the cube, which then transports him to the old military base where he trained decades ago.
The final sequence of the movie shows the dismantlement of S.H.I.E.L.D., Fury's idea of a going-away party, and a broken Brock Rumlow being loaded into an ambulance to become Crossbones, who has already made the transformation in the comic and just piddles around in the background crying over Red Skull's death.
Get it together, man. Move on. Get a bed.
The final shot of the movie has Cap and Falcon making plans to find Bucky, thus teasing the events of the upcoming sequel, Civil War.
The comic also gives us a taste of what's to come, as it is revealed that Red Skull's consciousness survives inside of Lucan. Itty-bitty living space.
In the end, all the changes come down to agenda. The Russo brothers needed to scrap S.H.I.E.L.D. and enforce Cap's ideals, all while following up the events of both Captain America the First Avenger as well as 2012's The Avengers. Brubaker simply wanted to resurrect an old ally and reintroduce a classic character to younger Captain America fans. Even though the plots are completely different and involve only a few similar characters, the bond between Cap and his best friend Bucky remains the same, which makes Civil War all the more emotionally charged.
But he's my friend. So was I.
That's the end of our episode. I'm sure there are plenty of minor differences left unsaid, so sound off in the comment section below with your favorites. And of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Cinefix for more What's the Difference?
In Mother Russia, me looking at you. Joke.